Imagine a perfect world. No hunger, no predators, no disease. A utopia built from the ground up to create a flawless society. But within 600 days, that paradise turned into an absolute nightmare. Mothers turned on their young, the strong became cannibals, and the entire population collapsed into madness and extinction. This wasn't a horror movie. This was a real scientific experiment called Universe 25. And what happened inside it looks disturbingly similar to what is happening all around us today. Welcome to the Onyx Vault. In 1968, researcher John Calhoun constructed a massive enclosure at the National Institute of Mental Health. He was chasing the answer to a single, terrifying question: what happens to a society when all of its needs are completely met? The enclosure was a mouse paradise. It had endless food, clean water, a perfectly controlled temperature, and absolute safety from any outside threat. There was no hunger, no danger, and no stress. Into this perfect world, he released 4 pairs of healthy mice. And at first, it was heaven. The mice lived peacefully. They mated, they built nests, and the population began to grow, doubling every 55 days. It was a golden age. A perfect start to a perfect society. But as the population continued to climb, something invisible started to change. It wasn't the physical space. It was the social structure. You see, in the wild, if a mouse has a conflict with its neighbor, it can simply run away and find a new home. But here, there was nowhere to run. The utopia had become a prison. Soon, young males found they had no social role to fill. They couldn't establish territory or find mates. They gathered in the center of the enclosure, becoming withdrawn, covered in scars from random attacks, and seemingly emotionless. They were alive, but they had lost their purpose. The dominant males, who were supposed to be leaders, couldn't defend their territories anymore. Overwhelmed by the constant challenges, they simply gave up. They became exhausted and passive. With the males abdicating their roles, the females became increasingly aggressive. They had to defend their nests alone, and the stress was immense. They started attacking intruders. But then, they began attacking their own babies, abandoning their maternal instincts entirely. The society was tearing itself apart from the inside. And then, a strange new class of mice emerged. Calhoun called them the beautiful ones. These mice were physically perfect. Their fur was immaculate. They had no scars. And they were in peak health. But they did nothing. They didn't mate. They didn't fight. They didn't socialize. They just ate, drank, and groomed themselves, completely withdrawn from the chaos around them. They were alive, but socially, they were already dead. Eventually, reproduction ground to a complete halt. The population peaked, and then began to crash, even when the numbers dropped back down to a manageable level. The mice never recovered. They had forgotten how to be mice. They had forgotten how to mate, how to raise young, how to build a society. Universe 25 ended in total extinction, not from a lack of resources, but from a complete social and spiritual collapse, a behavioral sink. John Calhoun believed this was a grim warning for humanity. He argued that when a society becomes too crowded and its members become too disconnected from their purpose and from each other, the spirit dies long before the body does. Now, look around you today. We live in crowded cities. Yet rates of loneliness and isolation are skyrocketing. We see the collapse of community bonds and millions of people escaping into digital worlds instead of engaging with real life. Are we building our own version of Universe 25? Or has the experiment already begun? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you're ready to go deeper into the dark truths of our world, open the vault by hitting that subscribe button. This is the Onyx Vault. We'll see you in the shadows.